Our CrossFit Games live recap show. I'm your host, Kalil, alongside co-hosts Dex Hopkins and Preslie Hirsch. Our recap shows are brought to you by the U.S. Army Warrior Fitness Team, which provides awareness of Army opportunities while serving. Team members are active duty soldiers that compete in CrossFit and strongman, strongwoman competitions, both nationally and internationally. The U.S. Army's Warrior Fitness Team is one of 6 recruiting outreach teams that allows soldiers to pursue a passion while serving. Make sure to check out the link in our description for more details. But now the wait is over. We know who our fittest men, women, teams, all of the athletes are. Guys, what a week it has been.
As much as we did not want to know who was going to win. Damn it, we knew.
We predicted it. So many people predicted it. Tia and Medeiros, the 2 winners that we have.
We spent so much time talking about the leaderboard shuffling and how exciting how exciting it was that it wasn't a runaway, and then the same people won.
Yeah, but they are like the last day. I mean, they were within 30 points going into the last day.
Still wasn't a runaway. Yeah.
It wasn't a runaway, but like they had to perform, right? Like I remember the last year Matt won. He could have skipped the last event, right? Because he was out there like soaking it, which was cool to see. But yeah, this was way more entertaining for like a full week, right? I mean, I feel like by Sunday, hey, we're hanging out in the vendor village till the last heat of the individuals, and we're going to the Coliseum. But I mean, the power was on all the time. So it was a way better week to me.
Yeah, I would agree. Let's take a look at the women's leaderboard. So as we mentioned, Tia-Clair Toomey on the podium with Mal O'Brien in his second for her second year in the individual elite division. And Laura Horvath standing on the podium. She made quite a comeback this weekend.
She did.
She's too.
I mean, this is what some of our sports analysts had predicted would happen, that, at the end of the day, we would see her standing on the podium. But with kind of a late start to the competition, it was incredible to see her march up to the top of that leaderboard and be able to stand on the podium another year.
This was, I'm no sports analyst, but the top 5 are exactly where I predicted them.
Yeah. Really?
Well, I had DB moving up, and I mean,
she made a big comeback too.
She had a full body of work all weekend, right? That's the best profile picture anybody had.
Every time I see it, I'm like, she is so hurt.
I've never seen that till right now.
Really?
Wait, seriously?
Yes.
Oh, it's been like that for a long time.
Yeah.
But that I mean, and this may be like, is this like Tia's smallest margin of victory? Close to, it has to be.
It's got to be close to,
if
be. Not.
And like the way Mal conducted herself all weekend, and more importantly, like the visual of the way she was able to move well all weekend, and like she was very efficient. And I mean, there was some adversity she handled, and like it's scary. The kids moves. She had last year went from 7 to 2, and DB from 11 to 4.
Yeah.
I mean,
Brooke Wells improved after an
elbow injury. She made a big comeback.
That's what I was about to say. That's like the story to me, man. I mean, because there are people that are done after that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for a year later, to where there's question marks in quarterfinals, and you get like a top 5. I mean, that's insane.
An improvement from last year when everyone else got fitter in the last year too. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
And then right under her, we've also been talking about Emma Lawson. We saw her wear the leader jersey earlier in the week, but she also was named as the rookie of the year on the women's side. Nick Matthew, another athlete that we'll talk about in a bit. But what an incredible performance. She's 17 years old.
Crazy.
Damn.
Crazy.
I wonder if she plays softball off season. Like if she's just checking out of that to come do this stuff. That's what I'm always interested in. Like, are you living like a also kind of normal life where you play team sports and this is your get down? But yeah, she was impressive.
She is. Yeah, I think
really?
Lauren, weren't we talking about that with her manager? Isn't she managed by Snorri?
Emma Lawson, yes, she is managed by Snorri. So she's also
really.
Yeah, the interesting thing about Emma Lawson, because I interviewed her, it was before she needed to decide whether she went individual or team or age group, teen rather. And we were trying to organize a time to do the interview, and her life is so busy from like 7 a.m. until 10 p.m. because she's a full-time student. She's not homeschooled. She physically goes to school and then has to find time to train, whether it's like a single session, double session. So it's pretty incredible to see that.
Yeah. Well, and to call out just after her, Cara Saunders, excuse me, fittest, she'd be the fittest mom in the world, right?
Yeah. And even seeing here, we'll bring up the leaderboard again. Seeing Scotty so many times with Cara on the competition floor. Yeah, she's there in the profile picture.
I have so many pictures or videos of Scotty. I can't wait to put that stuff together. But I mean, like, so I was front row, or kind of, in the car with her last year, and she told me she felt the best she'd ever physically felt, but she had kind of some residual COVID stuff. And so to see her come out and do a 7-man, I mean, I know last year was rough travel and it's kind of a heavy heart season for her. And, the whole family's here. Matto's here, Scotty's here, and Fatty's carrying Scotty around in a little wagon. It was just, I love seeing her do well, man. Like, I know how much it means to her, and the whole family's here. So that's awesome to see her come in and get a top 10 after all these years.
Yeah.
Like,
that's great.
Still got it. Yeah. It's insane to still be getting better and be in the game that long.
And I mean, amazing performances. We also have in the top 10, Gabby Magala, Haley Adams, Alexis Raptis, another rookie this year who used to be a teen athlete. I mean, for Haley, she had to fight back from a couple of workouts, but I think she had 2 event games finishes, first place finishes rather, during the weekend.
Started
2 back.
And that was her first career event win. Was that first one, and then in the final event or before the final event, she was in not the top heat, but the second heat, and so she really had to fight back.
There we go. Yeah, with a 5th still overall.
And she don't. I mean, the door she's opened for like younger kids coming through, the Mals, the Emmas, the Alexises. Like she was the one, right, that made the bridge, and she's been consistently good, and she looked stronger this year. I know the program was a little different than normal, especially like the last 2 years, but man, she looked really good and she looked really strong. So I know Tasia's pumped for what's to come, and a 9's probably not what she was looking for, but there's some silver linings to take out of the week for her.
Yeah, for sure. Heading over to the men's leaderboard, Justin Medeiros. It's interesting because last year when he won, he only had 1 event first place the whole time. He was just very consistent. And then this year it was kind of a question mark, I think, because the men's field is so deep, but just watching him kind of trek up day after day, event after event, he said the deeper we get into competition, the better he gets because he's just able to recover clearly that much better than other athletes. And ultimately, he ended up on top with the interesting thing here, Roman Krenikov in second, Ricky Garrard in third. 2 people who were not at the games last year, you take them out and we would have had Sam Quant and Jeffrey Adler on the podium. So I think it's just an interesting mix with 2 additions to the roster this year.
It's scary how, irrelevant the big show was to Roman. I mean, just like he'd been there every year he should have been, and hopefully it continues to be a thing he can come back and do. Because now he's kind of tasted it, and he comes out and throws down a 2, and seeing him have to compete for it. It wasn't like just an easy piece of fruit he plucked off the tree. So he earned it all weekend, especially on the last day. I mean, I didn't have him pegged to crush the yoke event today like he did. But the guy, I mean, and he's a strong guy, but like there are some things, everybody wants to touch the stove, but in things like that, it's who's going to leave their hand on, right? And so having to take a chance with the heavy barbells and stuff like that, and he was still out there swinging. That was a good weekend. Same thing for Ricky. This is
awesome.
I'm pumped that he did good all weekend.
Yeah, incredible to see both of them, and it just interesting because they were both a big question mark. We haven't seen Ricky since, I forget what, 2018. And then Roman, like you said, Dex, we've never seen him on the field against these athletes. I mean, we saw him in Dubai and some of the other off-season competitions, but having a full-fledged field of the most elite men in the world, I think was just so fascinating to see the 3 of them standing on the podium.
Especially with those events. I mean, because I view him as a long game guy, but like underrated for the efficiency and just the kind of depth of skill he has. And his coach is Nick Fowler. I coach for Brute, and Nick is one of the smarter guys I've met in the space. Very methodical, very thorough, and it showed, man. I mean, we were, the question marks to me were, would he be able to manage the time off the floor? And clearly they did, right? I mean, I had full confidence just knowing what I know about Nick and them, but they, I mean, I don't know. I'd be interested to see where it goes from here, because if up is I have to win, and I don't see him losing focus.
Sure. Then right under the podium was Sam Quant, Jeffrey Adler, Patrick Vellner, Jason Hopper. He made a huge comeback. He was, I think, around 19th place headed into today or after our first event today, and bumped all the way up to 7th, I think, is incredibly notable.
What's his back like? Go to the last few.
Okay.
Please. Sorry.
You're welcome.
I was aggressive.
There we go.
Yeah.
It's been a long week for us.
I mean, it's a crazy day.
Yeah.
And being one of the bigger athletes in the field, like, and kind of the swagger he walks around with, you know, he plays the game like an athlete. And you can tell some things of, you know, he's coming out of football, coming out of, you know, works with Matt, and kind of, it's cool to see some of those things bleed onto him and how he manages the lights. But yeah, I mean, he made a strong foot. He was consistent. He just had some, you know, swim events, kind of a toss out. What was that 30 he took? Yeah,
up and over. Yeah.
So I mean, he's got a ton of potential, man. And I mean, working with Matt, I think that then Matt and Matt's approach, and kind of even as an athlete, and I'm sure it is as a coach, that's hilarious.
That's awesome.
I'm just curious. I can't remember off the top of my head what he did last year. The games, he finished 19th, so that's like an incredible improvement from last year's game performance.
That's a huge jump. I mean, him and Daniel Brandon, like from going from a double-digit finish to top end like that. I mean, it's hard to move up a spot every year, like, because the field changes so much, like in the, you know, stronger, bigger, faster way. But yeah,
I mean, especially when you're thinking of like 20 to 10 and then 10 to 5, like it just gets more difficult the more places that you're bumping up. Right under him, we have Lazar Jukic in 8th, and then BKG in 9th, and then finishing off Guy, who also was awarded this year as he wasn't awarded anything. He proposed to his girlfriend.
No, that's
what it was.
He gave out the award.
What was it? He gave out the award for the award.
That was awesome.
Proposed to his girlfriend.
So good.
Wow, I was like, yeah, he got something. No, his girlfriend is now his fiance.
He didn't want to give him the mic back either. He kept going. He's like, she said yes. Woo! Yeah.
Such a cool moment.
That was cool to see. Hey, what up, Bruce? Did you have fun watching the CrossFit Games from home? Let us know. Any other notable things before we get into some of the other awards from athletes?
I'm interested to know how, because to me, the alpaca workout, the limiter was legless rope climbs. And so you remove,
yes.
There's a lot more standing around if it's legless rope climbs. But it was funny to hear Roman do the post-event interview where he talked forever in Russian, and then his translator gave like a good 10, 15 second. Well, he basically said, I knew this was going to be good. And I do legless or wet rope climbs all the time, so they're actually easier for me. So I hate they took it out.
Like, oh my gosh, that's funny.
Well, it definitely completely changed what the workout was.
And we
were expecting to win.
Yeah, we did a piece right after that happened, and we got to talk to Dani Spiegel for a moment, and she talked about how this went from not a great workout for her to a great workout for her by taking out a more limiting movement, or a movement that other people might be a lot better at. So definitely changed the workout.
Absolutely.
And here's the post-game interview with Dani Spiegel.
You had your first event win.
Yeah.
What did you think when they changed the workout this morning?
Fuck yeah, dude. Oh my God. A legless rope climb with a legless descent. Oh, I'd be so fucked. This was best case scenario. I did my rain dance last night and it paid off.
How are you feeling from yesterday's events all together in just the whole week?
Oh, I'm wrecked. I'm so wrecked. I'm hurting. I'm tired. I want to go eat. I'm going to go say hi to my competitors. Thanks, Dani.
That's such a Dani interview.
Fuck yeah, dude.
That was awesome.
Good. So cool. Some of the other awards that people had, Spirit of the Games. I don't think that this is a surprise, maybe for the fans at home, but we've all communicated with him. Yeah. Noah Olsen.
Oh my
God. If you didn't see that one coming, you haven't been paying attention for the last 9 years.
Like, you know what's weird? It's like,
not wrong.
So I love the guy like a brother, and I've known him for a while, and I think before I got to know him, and most people probably think like, hey, this is like a persona he puts on camera, but like genuinely one of the best humans I know, and like will never pass up a handshake or a hug. Me and Bijan will joke about not being able to take him anywhere because like he won't. Like it's his favorite thing is to love on people, and it's so genuine. And like he could get this every year. I mean, it's never a year he doesn't do this stuff. So I'm glad he gets recognized for that.
Yeah, and then most improved was Roman Krenikov.
Welcome to the show, fella.
Yeah.
Welcome to the in-person games.
And I don't know how much we've talked about it on here. I know we've mentioned him a few times, obviously, throughout the weekend. But if anybody hasn't read the piece that Morning Chalk Up did I think it went out last week on, him moving to Madison, Wisconsin, and getting to meet his baby for the first time just last week. It's a really heartwarming piece.
Yeah, and speaking of that, we also have Justin LoFranco, who's tuning in from his remote home life. What's up, man?
Yeah. Hey. What was that?
Why are you so sweaty? You've been watching.
Yeah, you sound like you're hyperventilating over there.
Yeah, what's going on?
It's been a long 100 and something hours. I'm not really sure. I think it was, I don't know. Yeah, I'm here at home. I've been cranking out on obviously a lot of different stuff. But yeah, you guys have been out there in Madison having all the fun while, the editors have been sitting literally from their desks for about, I don't know, what is it, something like 18 hours a day. I'm pretty tired of typing at this point.
Hydrating us.
And I'm drinking a beer.
Oh, a beer.
Oh, it's a beer.
Wonderful.
That's why you're out of breath. Got it.
Where are ours? We just have an energy drink, Dex. That's not the right beverage for our post-game recap.
Oh man, you guys, yeah, grab a beer. You should be cracking open a beer right now. Yeah, why not?
I drank one.
You've earned it.
What's going on? Somebody in the stands handed me and Xander beers, and we were forced to drink them. So
Forced.
I mean, I'm not rude. Okay, who am I to turn away a gift?
Justin, as you watched the live stream at home, I mean, we were in person, so you don't really catch every single storyline. But as you were listening to the broadcast, seeing everything unfold, what would you say is the biggest takeaway you took this year from the game?
I've been covering the games now. So this is my seventh CrossFit Games, and I honestly, I really did like the way that Bosman programmed this game. So I've been putting together a lot of different thoughts. As far as new implements are concerned, I think there were 7 or 8 new movements programmed in this CrossFit Games. And now, new programming for the sake of just new programming, I don't think that's great, but I don't think that's an amazing approach or a reason to do it. I think what he did was really interesting and smart. I love the crossovers. I love the single unders. I thought his integration with the Capitol building and the grounds, getting that uneven terrain, mixing that up in a really unique way, bringing the city to life with CrossFit was such a unique thing. That was actually my favorite event that I've seen programmed at the CrossFit Games for years. I remember I did races when I was younger, and you running through the city, and I was living in Washington, D.C., running through the city and getting to have the fans there through iconic places throughout the city is kind of a cool experience, not only as a competitor, but brings the city to life in just a unique way. And I thought, you know what, that was a really well executed event, really well thought out. And overall, I thought the programming was excellent. I know there's been a lot of chatter on the internet, and the internet loves to do that. But overall, I honestly thought this was a very well programmed event and was very creative. And I don't think any of the movements were cute. I think that they were actually a lot smarter than people are giving it credit for. And honestly, I think it was a great job overall.
It's always like a backside thing, right? For them they'll pick it apart and fuss during the moment, but then we'll look back and be like, hey, these are not, the first year pegboards came out and people had to stare at it, right? And you see Chuck coming up to people, please keep trying, please. And that's the difference, right? So if you've been around long enough to have been in Carson, and then you've come to this city. And so I guess my first year was your first year, then you're out there handing out newspapers. I made a joke to her about it. But yeah, look, it wasn't always online, folks. But the difference was, and I make the joke all the time, is I love the tennis stadium. 10 out of 10 is better than the Coliseum to me. Yep. But the city, man, there's no way that the experience of the games was completely changed when they came here, because you can't go anywhere and not see the posters and not be asked, are you guys here for the CrossFit Games? And then for them to integrate the city and them allow them to do that, you can't. Compton's not embracing CrossFit like that in 20, however, through when we left, right? So it's so much such an immersive thing here now. It doesn't matter where you stay, it doesn't matter where you go eat or any of those things. You can't escape it here, and that's why I don't think they'll leave. I don't see that being a thing.
So, do you think that they will renew the contract after next year and just stay in Madison? I know we've talked about they'll possibly go abroad, but
no way.
We've written about it a lot. I think it comes down to the fact that, Justin said this when I talked to him. This was many years ago before they chose to go to Madison. And I said, well, why would you leave? Right. And he's like, well, we've really kind of basically push the limits of the programming options in this location, and we want to find a new location in order to do that. And they were looking at it from a programming perspective, or at least that's what he said to me at the time. And he was just saying, look, we've done pretty much everything that we can do there. We've at the tennis stadium and the StubHub Center back then, and they'll have been at the games. I think 7 years. I think 7 years at Madison at this point. 6 years. Well, technically it would have been 7. So you're like, hey, I get it. I think from an ambassadorship standpoint, it'd be really great for them to move it around just a little bit more. I would love to see it in some other locations. I know it's super hot in August for most of the country, and Madison's great because you can still operate outdoors. Mm-hmm. I think there are ways of getting around it. You don't have to have these big events outside like the soccer stadium was in California or like North Park is in Madison. I think they could integrate those inside, and they could do them in indoor arenas and stuff. So I think there's a lot of options there. From a business perspective, I think moving it around makes a lot of sense. Also, you kind of want a lot of, from a business perspective, it's good to have a lot of suitors. So, if there's 2 or 3 different cities that are bidding for it, that's not super encouraging. You want a bunch of different people like Amazon to come up there and say, hey, yeah, we're going to offer a lot of tax breaks for you to come around here. We're going to offer a lot of incentives for you to come down to our town. So hopefully that's the case, because obviously from an emerging sport perspective, we want to see it grow. We want to see incentivization to move to bigger arenas. We also want to fill bigger arenas. And then from a numerical standpoint, Madison is a relatively small place. It's clear that they've sort of maxed out the capacity of what they built here, and there may be a new arena for them to graduate into. And if that's the case, then certainly that's a good all around.
All right, what do you guys think about Rachel's comment here about the programming? She says there aren't any events where I'm like, quote, oh, that was a bad event, but I feel like there were too many twists and not as much classic CrossFit.
That's like it's the hindsight thing, right? Like every year there's something that somebody doesn't like, but then they kind of unpack the method to the madness. And like we talked about it maybe 2 days ago, and you can see it now looking back. Whoever's programming it, whoever's kind of the head of that snake, I know it's usually like a few people committee, they check each other, but they project kind of their either, career athletic background into what those things are. Boz, elite level gymnast. If you've ever seen him do any kind of workout, it's a bunch of stuff like party tricks. But they're very effective things, right? And if we're talking about like this all-encompassing test, I want to test like your kinesthetic awareness, like the thing where there's no target for you to touch on the wall facing handstand push-up, right? Like it's easy to touch the ground and press if I have to float and keep that time under tension. So the nuanced stuff too, something that maybe doesn't look as sexy or it looks silly. There's a lot of like, strength conditioning kind of nuance in that. And that was this cool stuff to me. And you've seen elite people try to do single unders in a gym and they can't do it, right? So I love it, man. And I love weird stuff and that's the thing about the games, the unknown and unknowable stuff. It's so hard to come by. Like the open, we know the list of movements, even quarterfinals. Now, the craziest thing you can throw in is what? Shuttle runs. Got it. But, so I love when it's a complete curveball to everybody. I think that's why we got the good show of the shuffled up leaderboard until the end, right? So you see who's actually got the killer in them, who's the actual well-rounded person. I mean, I would have never thought the strength test would be a sandbag. Like, ever.
I don't think any of the athletes thought that it was going to be a sandbag.
That's beautiful.
They all were upset at first that why isn't it a barbell? And then they did the workout and they're like, dang, this is fun.
Yeah.
Well, I would maybe not all of them, but the ones that we had spoken with.
Yeah. Now, the only year that can get away with that is the year they had to like hammer a stake into the ground. Now that we could never see again. That's okay. So like, this is not that kind of silly dance, but there's the nuance to it and the kind of even something that seems like a step back to the basics of movements. Like, I mean, it's in line with the methodology. So it kind of feeds the monster. And I don't see if there's ever a problem with that.
I'm curious. Let's go back to the women's leaderboard and Tia winning. On the broadcast, you could hear Sean Woodland say that it was her final time taking the stage, taking the field. But then Nikki Brazier on the floor asked if she was retiring, and she said that's the big question. I want to take a vote in the room. Do we think that this was Tia's last year?
I do.
If she can
Dex?
time off and do bobsled and come back and still win, you got nothing else to prove. You win. Like Rich did it first, you did it way better. We get it. Like, there's no like this. You've milked this cow for all she's worth. Like that's it.
I'm going to say yes, and really it just comes down to less about Tia and more about Sean. Usually you don't drop a dime like that on the broadcast unless if you have insider information. So he seemed really confident in what he was saying. It's not like, oh, this could be her last. I'm speculating here. He was pretty confident in what he said. I mean, more specifically, he said, and I quote, "If you're wondering why Tia Toomey took her time and soaked it in, this is it. She's planning to retire after the CrossFit Games." That's not a lot of gray area, and I'm sure she didn't know that. So she wasn't ready for. I'm not saying she wasn't ready for that cat to get let out of the bag, but I'm saying when she was on the live broadcast, she wasn't listening. And so when Nikki Brazier asked her that question, I'm sure she didn't know the timeline of events there. But I frankly would be shocked if she did go out. And I want to say this right here because I'm going to put this out there in the internet world for 12 months from now.
Everybody prepare, record your screen, get ready.
Look, and I said this to Armin when we were talking about could anybody beat Tia, and I said, well, the one X factor here that no one's considered is the fact there's a new programmer. I said, in Dave's programming and the way he was approaching the games for those years, no, I really don't. What we saw this year actually tripped up some people in ways that were very unexpected, and I think the easiest one to point back to is Tia. And I said, well, yeah, I don't think she's going to win. I don't think anybody's going to beat her. I just think that the unknown factor is whatever Boz does. And I'm going to say this. If she returns this next year, I think there's a legitimate chance she does not win. I think that the way the direction is going for the athletes that are right on her heels, there's still a ways to go, but I think that the progress they've been made year over year and where they're going to go from here to next year, that she will have a serious chance at losing the games. And so as a competitor, if you want to go out like Michael Jordan, you want to go out on 6 and walk away and say, hey guys, this was great, I'm done. Or do you want to get beaten out of your own dynasty? And honest to God, I think, I'm not saying that's the only thing that she's thinking about, but if she does come back, I would not be surprised to see her lose. Not because she's not fit, not because she's not literally the greatest CrossFitter to ever compete, but these girls are catching up with her in serious ways, and they're causing a lot of separation in the leaderboard sometimes, and we saw that happen on multiple events this year, and we haven't seen that happen in years with Tia.
But here's the caveat with all that stuff, right, is the bobsled thing. She took most of the year off. This was your part-time job this year, and you still come back and win with all the question marks. So, and then, the formula's out there, right? Rich, if this is his last year, going out on top. Matt, same thing. So at one point, I've built the brand, right? And that's the dream, right? I want to build it. And then I want to sit back and collect the checks. And Matt's done it with the programming, with all the branding and Nike and all this stuff. And so the formula's out there. You don't have to hurt forever. Hell, Carrie Pierce did it, right? And Carrie was just the fifth American woman for the longest time. And so, nobody wants to have to hurt to earn this money, right? Because you got 1-2 shots a year to pay those bills. And that's so.
All right, well, we're actually going to bring in another athlete, or our first athlete of the show. We have Jacqueline Dahlstrom here joining us. How's it going? Oh, we can't hear you.
Uh-oh, here we go.
The first victim to the audio malfunction. That's okay. Video looks great. If you go to your settings, which is the little toolbar on your phone, it should give you an option to turn up that audio, or change it rather. Yeah, the whole Tia conversation, I think is interesting, because you also wonder the questions like, when are her and Shane going to want to start a family? When are they going to want to maybe pursue other things? And it's a question mark still.
Yeah, how many subscriptions do you think they have for proof?
Can you guys hear me?
I'm not allowed to answer.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
I'm not allowed to answer.
Yeah. Jacqueline, I think we can hear you. Can you speak again?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. There we go.
How are you feeling right now?
Good. Just finished the awards. Looking forward to some obviously. Feeling good.
Oop, it's a little choppy. We're hearing every other word.
I'm in because I'm still at the venue, so I'm using the Wi-Fi.
Oh, the venue Wi-Fi. It's
Classic.
it's a little bit touch and go in the venue.
We're handing out hotspots next year. Everybody's got their own.
No kidding. Well, we might have lost her for a minute, but one thing I want to say about Jacqueline Dahlstrom is that her performance in the strongman event was unbelievable. And I think a lot of people count her out when it comes to strength-based events. I don't think that she doesn't have the build of a stronger athlete that somebody you immediately pick is going to lift the most amount of weight. And that's what I really appreciated seeing that from her at that event. And her performance in that was really quite fantastic and very impressive and stuff. I think a lot of people don't look at Dahlstrom as being a competitive athlete in the strength-based events. They just kind of write her off as like, yeah, I mean, she's great at gymnastics. She's extremely fit. She's obviously qualifying for the games year over year, but they're not like, oh, girl's going to move some weight. And she did an absolutely fantastic job. And what I really liked about it was how she was, and this is what I like about this. It's how she was able to adapt over time to something she probably has not actually done or tried or attempted to do. And I think that's what Boz wants to get out of events when they're programming it, is say, okay, look, how is that adaptation? How is the athlete going to not just it's great when you can power clean everything and just power it up. It's like, that's fantastic. Okay, great. Now let's add 40% more. And I think it was something in the vicinity of 100 pounds over her body weight that she was attempting to move, which is ridiculous and wildly impressive. Dex, I'm sure you try to pick up some very heavy objects. Oh, we got her back. There we go.
Oh, I think we can hear it.
Is it working?
Yes.
Is that Bud Light, you monster?
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh, you're good.
No, we were just talking about how impressive your performance was yesterday with that sandbag. And I mean, I don't know about the rest of everybody on this stream, but I was not expecting that from you in the coolest way possible.
Anyone expected that, to be honest. Not in a million years did I expect to be on a lifting platform with Dani Spiegel. It was just crazy.
How did you figure out a technique that benefited you to come in second in that event?
Well, as you guys probably saw, I'm not the most explosive athlete, but like kind of 1 inch at a time. And I found a way that worked for me. It was the only way that I could get it up. So, you just have to adapt.
Well, that's what Justin was kind of alluding to, is you're one of the more unassuming like power athletes. Because I mean, it's in there for the fact that you were on the platform with Dani, right? We expect that from her. But just stature wise, like standing next to Dani could power clean 1 million pounds. We're not like, okay, Jacqueline Dahlstrom's going to throw the heavy bag on her shoulder. And I'll say, like, the last few, like the time under tension you had, you were still able to kind of manipulate it and inch it up to your shoulder. Like, that was one of the more impressive things I've seen. So hats off to you for that.
Well, thank you. I actually, I felt quite comfortable for it. I was going to get it because I had, like, a good grip. But you're very right. I had to like, take it 1 inch at a time, breath, and then, get a bit higher. Deep breath, a bit higher. But yeah, it was really cool. Fun to do.
It was a hug strength test.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. And see him, it's pretty phenomenal. So just getting to experience that, like being standing, like the last two standing on the platform Saturday evening in the Coliseum, phenomenal.
What are your thoughts about the programming and all of the events overall the last couple of days?
I thought it was fun. The boss obviously tried to do a bit of new things. Maybe a bit, it was a lot of new things. So in every kind of, I think the athletes kind of got a bit tired of all the surprises at some point because it was done. We used to like a couple new elements every game, but it was a lot of new. I think I hope they kind of reviewed the handstand push-ups and think of a better way to, and not necessarily judge it, but just for the athletes to get some direct feedback from the floor. It was the top of your head had to reach the line. There's no reach the line or not. So that for me was a bit it was kind of a bit like heartbroken, like because we worked so hard, and then I'm out on the floor and I have to guess if I'm deep enough, and then the judges were also cued to not tell you until you were at the top.
Wow.
It was just such a. I think I did 17 reps on the first round.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So just something else. I think the bounce from us not to touching something, but then having just a band or anything that you, so the athletes got that, or even just the judge say yes, and then go up again. So I think it was a bit sad about the legless rope climbs being taken away from the first event today.
You're a rare breed. You're a rare breed if you were sad there, John.
I was sad.
Deep breath.
I was sad, and we were a couple that was sad because I'd obviously changed around the workout completely. It was down to whether you could do the rope climbs or not, and then the ones that are good at rope climbs to then had to push the other. But then it turned over to complete power output, like bigger, stronger, heavier, the better. So he tried to implement a lot of new things. It was fun. It was fun. I quite liked the twist with single on this. For me, it was, I feel like a single competitor at the games should be able to do. So it's kind of interesting to highlight that in some ways. That like then the last one is kind of fair enough. That but overall, I think I hope they review some of their kind of judging. When you bring in something new, you make this fair for everyone, and not try to leave it up to some judge is strict, and that's very frustrating as an athlete.
Yeah, that was. I thought they left that. It was a lot of, especially for ladies. Like, I hate to say that, but like, you guys have your hair up. Nobody's working out with their hair down, and so but it's different for everybody, right? Like,
Absolutely.
I had long hair at one point, and I knew where to put it. I knew where to put it.
We'll never forget that.
I'm telling you, look, the cinnamon bun helped out. But like, so you talk about the surprises and the different things Boz was trying to do, and I was pumped to see the shuffling of the leaderboard was just constant all week. Do you think those surprises kind of leveled the field for everybody? Because you were in the mix. I mean, I think you made a big improvement. But do you think that leveled the playing field just kind of across the board, so nobody was able to actually run away with it, and it was kind of a dogfight until the end?
Yeah, maybe probably a bit. But at the end of the day, Tia did win a significant lead. So she did. But it was definitely not seeing Tia in the red and white in the beginning of the week, because you did like, oh, okay, that's Tia. I was like, oh no, it's Emma, and then it was Mal, and I was like, oh, it's not Tia. So that probably a different position for her to be in as well. But
yeah, it was bizarre for all of us watching, not seeing her in the center lane and not wearing the leader jersey for a bit. So it wasn't just you that thought that was like you had to get used to it.
Yeah, no, she had to, she had to fight for it as well. Which is, it's kind of fun to see as well. And she won that. Very well deserved, as always.
All right. Well, thanks for popping in. We'll let you head out and celebrate. And congratulations to another successful CrossFit Games.
Nice job, Jacqueline.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it was cool having. I think. Well, I don't want to say it's cool. It was. I think, and this goes back to my argument from previous, is like chink in the armor a little bit. We saw Tia trip up in a couple of areas. We saw her trip up in the wall balls, where she actually just made a couple of mistakes, small mistakes. It's obviously she's fit enough to complete this whole segment from the elimination event. But we saw this in the wall ball where, when she was sprinting down there and picked up the wall ball, she had multiple no reps. She just missed the target. And on I think it was two rounds back to back. And you're like, okay, interesting. And, I don't know if it was just because of the differences or what, but this was a little different style of play for Tia. Now, she ultimately won out definitively. And I think if this kept going, it was just going to continue to be her increasing her dominance, especially as we got into more CrossFit. But it was interesting to see. And I know that we saw a lot of the chatter online. A lot of the fans were like, oh my gosh, is this going to happen? There was a little more drama, which I think plays into the sport. And I think that was fun for fans just even to speculate. But she was like, yo, guys, whatever. Like, this ain't going to be a thing. And clearly it wasn't. But I know that from that perspective, it was a little bit of a surprise. Nobody was expecting, especially considering how dominant she was in the semifinals, literally sweeping all 6 events in kind of historic fashion. You're like, okay. But it was a nice change.
I loved it.
It was fun. Yeah.
And look who else we have joining us is Cara Saunders, and I'm sure Scotty is close by. We saw a lot of her at the finish line this weekend.
Victim number 2.
Victim number 2 of the night. We can't hear you. If you just go into your little toolbar, it'll give you an option. Justin, with the live stream at home, did they show Scotty a lot with Cara at the finish line?
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, Scotty was always making an appearance out there, which was great. And, I think it's, now become an iconic thing, sort of, obviously Cara on your social media and also on the finish line. We saw in the semifinals, Scotty coming out there at the celebration at the end and stuff like that. And, I think it's really great because now we have all these CrossFit moms, OGs like you, Cara, who've been around for so long, and Annie's also, and their children are now getting more involved in the sport, just from a visual standpoint. And I think it's so great. And it's, a wonderful thing and a representation for all the moms that are out there. And I think it's very inspiring for moms that are out there too, seeing other women out there competing and still doing amazing things. And I know that fans love it. I know that it's always one of those things that we love to see. And yeah, she was on the live feed a lot.
I mean, look at the picture right there. If that doesn't warm your heart and just show, we were talking about it, I know with Roman yesterday, but just show how international the sport is with Scotty holding the flag. It's just something really cool to see that you don't see in other sports. All right.
Oh, dude.
Oh, no.
It's all good.
Cara, I think you're...
I see Cara's lips moving.
Yeah. We can't hear you, she-bear.
Justin, are you a good troubleshooter to help Cara?
I can try. Yeah, Cara, I think you need to... there's an audio issue or something. Double check the settings on there. We'll keep you on. We'll keep you on while you're troubleshooting.
Scotty's actually our training partner. Yeah. Right? Matto's doing the videos. But yeah, man, I was so excited to see you have a good year, man. I know last year, broke my heart for you, and I know how you felt, especially with all the weird kind of travel stuff, getting back and the quarantine type stuff.
I love this one.
The lead up, and then the kid is so tall. She's so
tall.
Now.
Well, and especially she was able to actually have her family here last year where, with COVID and everything and traveling and the pre-quarantine and post-quarantine, she was away from her daughter for so long that to have her and see her in the stands, I can only imagine how incredible that was. All right, Cara. Well, it's okay. We can't hear you, but I'm sure we'll catch up with you after the games. Thanks for stopping in, and we will definitely see you soon.
Congrats, Cara.
Yeah. Later, buddy.
Bye.
Oh, bummer. I was looking forward to it. Yeah, she's OG of OGs, and right at the nation stage of the sport, like blossoming out, and tennis stadium, as you were talking about. This is a competitor who's, I think she's 10 games this year,
10
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And it's a story 10, right? We saw her almost die doing Murph.
Yeah.
Get carted off. There's a million stories to have to do with her. And then especially after last year, it's just, it's cool to see her do well. And it looks like she'll stay as long as she wants to, right? She's had a business, she's growing, and they're super public about how she feels about being a parent and all this stuff. And there's follow through, right? The kid was here all week. And it's, it truly takes a village, and it's cool to see them navigate that stuff so well.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Justin, thanks for stopping by. We'll let you finish your beers over there.
This is more like a working beer than a celebratory beer.
Pre-workout beer. Pre-workout beer.
As I have an offensive amount of things to type and write at this stage of the game. But I'm going to ask you guys this question while we're on here. I mean, what do we think about the guys? The men. I think the men's, and this is something we're going to obviously we need some time to process this. But on the men's side, Krinikov and Gerard. So we obviously haven't seen Gerard since the last time he placed third. Under different circumstances, and then we haven't seen Krinikov for the last several years because he hasn't been able to be here. Yeah. And I think it's just wildly very interesting that two dudes that haven't been around for the last several years, now all of a sudden are here, and they didn't just obviously everybody shows up to compete. These guys just did it better, and I'm looking at that and I'm saying, man, especially with Roman having his P1 visa is going to give him an opportunity to stay and train here with his family in an environment that's going to be very healthy for him, not alone, and his family being in Russia. I mean, them being together, and I know that would weigh on him mentally, but they're going to be together. Roman already here, and we've been saying this for a long time. I know Brian's said it, Tommy has said it, I've said it, everybody else has said it, and they're like, this is the fittest guy to never get to compete at the CrossFit Games. And what we saw for the 2020 Stage 1, not the same kind of scenario. No. I'm blown away. It's not that I thought this was crazy. It's not that I didn't think this was going to happen, because we've seen him in Dubai. We've seen him at the Filthy 150 and other competitions doing extremely well against the same style of athletes. But honestly, I'm loving this men's division. I think Medeiros got out on top, and I'm like, that's great. But you had basically two in-person rookies competing against you. And maybe it was jitters. Maybe they just made a couple mess ups. Maybe Roman doesn't speak literally any English. And I'm really excited for next year for the men. I'm loving this mix up at the top. And I think we've found three athletes that are ready to fight and to compete. And I think that's great. I'm really looking forward to the men, the Vellners and the Fikowskis. I think they're going to have to put in a ton of work in order to keep up with these younger guys. I'm loving it, and I'm really excited about it. And I love seeing Krinikov, and I love the redemption story of Ricky. I think it's just so cool to see Ricky come back and do this, and to be publicly, shamed for what you've done, and to do it is just, it takes a lot out of you. And I think, man, I'm sure that guy shed a lot of tears over the last several years, and for him to be disciplined and deal with his own demons, and then decide he's going to come back and he's going to have to face a crowd that's going to be hostile, and to go through it. I'm like, you know what? That's fantastic. And I'm really proud of his transformation as an athlete. And I'm sure he's learned a lot over this experience. And I think he's really put this behind him. The guy deserves to be up there. It's really nice to see that. And I'm very excited for next year for the men.
To me, it tells you, like, Dubai is a good test.
Right. Not wrong.
Dubai is, that's the off-season games, and like that's what we said. The skills you get there, and I'll dare say, like, the swimming is harder because it's those waves, you're getting beat to death, and maybe they intentionally try to fitness kill people there. But the thing with Ricky, man, to me, like, I said the same thing, Justin. Like, I love a bad guy story, and he's definitely being treated like that. I mean, especially after the documentary came out, right? Like, you can't unhear those sound bites.
Yeah.
And the thing to me is, everybody talks about loving the game and XYZ, but like, could you get publicly just kind of burned at the stake? And do you love it enough to go 4 years? Like, there are people who can't qualify 4 years in a row when they're able, much less, take 4 years, not off, but out of the game, right? Like, it's like somebody coming out of the NFL and, like, you can't regain that speed, right? Too much time out, you are essentially out. But he kept it, and he came back and did the same thing. They're going to drug test him and stuff. And if that brings it full circle to where, like, we're completely out of the woods with that story, like, I agree. Like, I don't think you can't villainize the guy. I mean, he definitely deserves to be up there. The work's there, the skill's there, and hats off to Justin Kotler and them for managing that stuff on the back end. But I completely agree. I love the story.
And even his manager, Snorri, we were talking to his wife just before we came to do these recaps, and she was like, he's been having a heart attack all weekend long. He's been so stressed. So, everybody that has been in his corner is just so thrilled to see him thriving and back in it, because it does make the competition more interesting, especially when you have a men's field that's just so deep. Every year, everybody is getting better, but the programming, the way that things are delivered, it was really a fun week to see how things would shift day to day, workout or event to event.
And it was a weird-ish year to come back to that stuff. It was not traditional. So to still step in the box and take that swing and, essentially hit a home run for the guy just, for the story. I mean, that's a huge deal and says a lot about like just the dedication to it and honestly like the love of the game to me, which I love that.
Yeah, I'd certainly say, and I'll leave after this, I'd certainly say that placing third after a couple of big bombs, no disrespect on Ricky, but he had a couple of big flubs where it was like, this is not good. And had he not had a cushion, and he would have lost his podium position. I think he's going to go back. Seems like the kind of guy that's going to go back. Yeah, what have we got? 7th, 13th, no, 18th. That's not so good.
All right, let me go to the beginning. So we started the weekend very strong, up through the Capitol. Then
28th place. That was on the Echo Press.
That was the last event of
I think that's
Friday.
I think that's the toss out this year, right? The Echo Press, because that kind of weird standard. I feel like every year there's, I hate to say a toss out, but that's it this year. And I'm glad that that's a thing. Like it was a weirdish movement. We talked about, I think of it as an accessory thing, but if you nail down, I think there's room for growth to make that, a better thing or just some version of that. But yeah, I mean, everybody's throwing curveballs. It's judges and the people on the back end. But yeah, that's definitely the toss out one to me this year. Other than that, consistent.
Yeah, that was by far his lowest finish then, 18th. But Justin, thanks for stopping in.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's been good catching up. Thanks for all the work. Yeah, if you haven't already, we're going to have a bunch more stories on morningchalkup.com, so you probably want to check those out. And if you're watching or working, grab a beer at some point because everybody deserves one.
Are beers on Justin from Morning Chalk Up?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, you just
All right, PC heard it.
I'll give Lauren's phone number out there, and you can text her your Venmo, and I'll be sure to reply.
Terrible idea.
I'll be sure to send it.
No, I control the graphics, so we will not bring up the graphic.
How do I take? Anyways, no.
You're not in control yet.
Yeah. I mean, been a long season. This is the culmination of a really long season, I think, for everybody. And now we're out of the good long COVID winter. So I'm looking forward to next season, but definitely some R&R. I think everybody deserves it a little bit because, boy, that semifinal schedule was brutal. So anyways, enjoy a beer. Thanks for having me on, guys. I'll see you guys.
All right, thanks, Justin. Bye.
This is your show, dog. Don't thank us for coming. I do remember that he was talking about like his first games because that was mine too. I remember him throwing those little newspapers out, and I was like, "All right, cool. This will be gone in a year." So I was wrong.
You are wrong, and now you are a guest on our show. Look at you, Dex.
Look at us now.
Co-hosting with Preslie and I. He does actually have a Morning Chalk Up crop tee, but apparently
it's a sports bra.
He didn't want to wear it. Yeah. He left it at home. So we're approaching the end of our show, but I do want to obviously mention one of the other big storylines is CrossFit Mayhem Freedom.
Surprise.
They broke their record.
Amazing.
Another win. And I think 6 event wins. Last year they had 5 straight.
I thought it was 7. I could be wrong, but I thought it was 5 at the end of the day yesterday.
2015. So every year since 2015.
4, 5, 6.
Or 17 was off. Golly.
Because I think 5 was the record. So I think by getting first both events today, I think they broke it. I thought
they broke it. We do have an article on morningchalkup.com if you want to go and fact check us as we are live on our broadcast, but incredible performance by them. No shocks there. Second place also standing on the podium. We've written about them. We've talked about them on preview shows. CrossFit Oslo Blue, and then CrossFit Invictus in third with Reykjavik right behind them in fourth, and then the other Mayhem team, CrossFit Mayhem Independence in fifth.
That's terrifying. Like having 2 in the top 5.
Stacked.
At a semi, okay, cool, right? But at 2 at the CrossFit Games in the top 5 is nuts. And I thought, I had Oslo picked to kind of stand atop, just, to be contrarian and hope. But and they were solid all weekend. It was very a game of inches with them. And Josh Amshama on CrossFit Invictus is the homie. It's cool to see them doing well. And I thought like a few people kind of underachieved, man, that we had picked. But that was also, I think the theme of the games where it's a big shuffle and all these curveballs are thrown at everybody. Like I asked Jacqueline, like, does it level the playing field? I think it does, but then, the cream's going to rise. Cause I thought I had OBA picked to go way high.
Yeah.
I think we had,
let's see where do you know where they finished?
They weren't too far down. Yeah,
sorry,
11th.
11th. Yeah,
11th. I mean, still a good showing. They had some, game of inches. It was a pegboard here and there. It was some other things. Go back up and see where move fast, lift heavy, because this was, I'm biased. Don't get me wrong. Last time I qualified, it was me and
right
CH.
there, 8th.
So, yeah, that's a huge showing for them, man. It's Will Carter's first time. Winter Nicolette, and Nikki, like all, they were both at a semi last year at the MAC doing individual. CH has the move fast tryout and brings them up. And last year, I got to have a good cried out hug with Will at Granite Games, and it broke my heart. They ended up not being able to go.
Yeah.
So for them to come, and the kid was on fire for it all year. I went and trained. We had the same coach for a while, Jason Lyden, and I went up to Milford to train with them, and the kid's been on fire all year for us. I'm super happy to see. CH is a games vet on teams, and so it's very cool to see them come together and get a top 10 after a long weekend, man.
Awesome.
Weekend.
And to know, a lot of people were speculating that Rich was going to retire after this games, but similar to Tia, he told us that he has not made a decision or is not going to share his decision at this time.
I just don't think
he
doesn't have any other hobbies. Like,
I think it seems like he has lots of hobbies.
I know. I was going to say he's always so busy.
He's always doing
family.
something.
He's got Froning Farms.
Yeah.
I'm talking about winning, guys. I'm talking about winning. Yeah,
maybe he's just winning at life and parenting.
And
I don't know.
And such.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It is crazy. It's awesome. It's really cool to see.
It is. It's been an incredible week. Before we wrap up, what was your highlight moment, Preslie, of the last 5 days?
Wow,
Dex,
that's a hard
start
one.
thinking. Put Preslie in the spot. I had her go first.
That's because she knows I'm better on the spot than Dex. I would say it would definitely be a tie for, something that people don't get to see at these events is all the people that put it on. The volunteers, the judges, getting to meet you guys in person for the first time, and all the people we get to work with. And there's so many photographers and creatives that work so hard. So when you're scrolling through Instagram and seeing these really cool pictures and all of these really cool things, there are people on the ground making that happen. And so getting to be a part of that in person is definitely a highlight. I've seen it firsthand at semifinals, but getting to see it at the games was really incredible. And then just, the competition of the leaderboard shuffling as much, I think was really, really fun. So I would say those are my two highs. Definitely the people and the actual, I'm pretty competitive. So I love seeing a good fight and a good competition.
All right, Dex, you had some time to think.
Yeah, no pressure.
No.
I coach and program, man. So that's always the analytical part of my brain is just the kind of the whole picture of the weekend. And, traditionally with traditional CrossFit stuff, you can pick them. You can pick who's going to win. And we talked about it every night. No clue. And it ended up being the usual suspects, but the route to that was so different because of the curveballs that Boz was throwing. And, whether that was like his wish list things and it may be the only year he gets to do it and that's why we did it. But there'll be a lot of people chatter like Justin said, but I think the programming, it was the best year, visually going to the Capitol, seeing people struggle with single unders. Not that it's like a funny ha-ha joke, but it's like,
It's just interesting, yeah.
Yeah, well, that the 100 words of fitness and the pyramid of how to build skills is out there. But rarely do you get here, you train to do the crazy stuff. And it's normally very, it is crazy, but it's some stuff we've seen before. And the fact there are so many shocks and kind of jaw dropping, I can't believe that's a thing. I mean, that made for an awesome week. And I've been here since last Saturday. And I'm not going to say it went by fast because it didn't. I'm exhausted. But it was a thing to kind of behold. There was no time where you wanted to sit down and go chill in the hotel and take a break. So, like Preslie said, hats off to all the people behind the scenes to make it that and kind of present that to people and give them an opportunity to flow through a bunch of curveballs and kind of step into the box and take big swings.
We did it. Another year. 2022 CrossFit Games is in the books. Preslie, Dex, thanks for hanging out every night and recapping the shows. This was
Thank
was
you.
a fun time.
It was exhausting.
This was fun. Let's do it again next year. Same place.
Same time, same place, because it'll be back in Madison. Maybe we'll upgrade our set for next year.
Set is perfect.
I mean, my background is pretty cool.
Your background is pretty cool.
Ours is branded though. So.
Ours is branded.
All
right.
Well, you are the reason why it's wrinkly. This was so much fun. Everybody who tuned in to all of our recap shows, we so appreciate you. We hope it was entertaining. We will maybe be taking a couple days off from YouTube, but don't worry, not too long. We got to sleep. We got to rejuvenate, maybe have a couple of adult beverages tonight. But if you ever have ideas or storylines you want to see us cover, shoot us a DM, email us. Our contact info is out there. And